Will you help us that no story is left behind this Remembrance Day? It's Friday. Welcome to the Family History Show. We are your hosts, Ellie and
Liam, but I'm on the other side for mine, so it's.
I need to remember this, that you're always on the opposite side. We hope you've had a fantastic week, everybody. It's almost time for the weekend. We do this here on Facebook and YouTube every other week, and it's basically a chance for us all to come together and talk about our fun families and cool family history discoveries, house history, a little bit of history. It's a little bit of a hodgepodge of things, really, Liam, isn't it?
Yeah, a little bit of everything with some underlying tones.
Yeah. So, excuse me, we've both got a bit of a cough coming on, which is not going to be good. So we apologise for that in advance. We hope you guys have all had a really good week. If you are new here, please tell us where you're tuning in from. Tell us what the weather's like with you. Maybe tell us a little bit something about your family or your family history, your family tree. And also welcome to our regular viewers as well. It's always a pleasure to see you guys coming back week after week. Absolute delight. We have got a packed agenda for you today, actually. Have we not, Liam?
We do indeed, a lot going on.
We have got a lot going on. So some of you may have seen that we today have launched a special No Story Left Behind challenge, which is leading up to Remembrance. So we're going to be talking a little bit about that and how you guys can get involved. We are going to welcome a member of our product team to the stream in about 15-20 minutes or so, and I don't think you guys have met her before, so this is a new one for you to meet, and she's absolutely lovely, and she's got a brand new feature to talk to you about. We're going to talk about how fun maps are as well, because maps are fun. And then we're going to do question of the week, and the question of the week this week is, who do you remember on Remembrance Day? So be sure to add those into the comments, and we will get to those in a little while. And then to finish off, I don't know if any of you have seen, but House Through Time is back on BBC Two, and we watched it today, didn't we? We watched it over our lunch breaks, Liam, and basically we won't spoil it, but we're going to review that later. I'm so excited. Can you tell? So how are you doing, Liam? How's your week been?
It's been good. Like you say, our whole team has been battling illness on various days throughout the week, and it's been a very busy week as well. So not an ideal time for it, but we've made it. It is Friday. It's 4 minutes past 4, so 56 minutes to go, and it will be the weekend, and it will all be worth it. How about you?
Yeah, it has been a really busy week, but do you know what? With the challenge going live today, I think it's all been worth it. But I think for any of you who've not seen, I think it's time that we show you what we mean when we talk about our No Story Left Behind challenge. So let's go and have a gander over on there. I can just see that Matthew's having some trouble with Facebook. Can't get it to load on YouTube either. Oh, you're commenting on YouTube though, but is it just not playing? I don't know. I have just had to reconnect YouTube, so that might be why it's not working. But I'll take a look after that. I'm sorry, Matthew. Okay, so let's talk to you about our very exciting challenge. So Remembrance Day is still a couple of weeks away, is it not, Liam?
It is, yeah. Like we were saying the other day, we've spoken about it for so long, and we're starting it today. It feels still so far away at the same time.
It is. But one of the reasons we're doing this challenge, which is our No Story Left Behind challenge, is because when you think about it, about how many people served in, World War I, World War II, how many people sadly lost their lives, the people that were left behind, there seem to be a lot of stories that are at risk of just being lost, perhaps because they don't have any descendants, or perhaps because maybe somebody just doesn't, the descendants just haven't looked at their family history yet. So what we're trying to do is trying to encourage people that haven't started yet to research wartime stories and make sure that no stories are forgotten. So one of the ways we're trying to get people involved, particularly if they've not done any family history before, is with this challenge. And it's going to be running over 4 weekends. It starts today. And each weekend there's going to be some slightly different questions that you guys can answer, some records that you can have a delve into. There might be some records that you've not thought to try before, for example. And they're all connected, all of these questions, to this one family. So I would like to introduce you to the 5 sons of David Griffith of Barry in Glamorganshire. So in 1915, this newspaper article appeared in a local newspaper, I think it's the Western Mail, and it says that David Griffith has 5 sons fighting for king and country. And these are his 5 sons. So you've got, from left to right, you've got Hugh, Richard John, Nicholas, Ernest Evan Quinton, and Reginald Stanley. So you've got this, and it also tells you a little bit about their ranks and their regiments. And then I think there was a separate article that was published with slightly different photographs as well, and also slightly contradicting information. So make sure you watch out for that. I did notice that. Don't take everything that you read under the photographs for given. So basically, my thought was, if you had this, you came across this photograph and they were your family, or you were just inclined to research them because it was a cool photograph, like, where would you start, and what do you think you could find, and how do you think you could bring their story to life and make sure it's not forgotten? That's basically the premise, I think. So this was the other photograph. So it actually shows a picture of the father as well, David Griffiths. And then you've got the individual photographs of the 5 brothers. And it does say that Mr. and Mrs. D. Griffiths lived at 9 Windsor Road in Barry, and that was in 1915. And yeah, so this is your starting point. So the first part of the challenge this week. Oh, I thought I'd identify them for you all as well. So yeah, you've got Hugh, you've got Richard John, you've got Nicholas, Ernest Evan Quinton, and then Reginald Stanley as well. So the first part of the challenge this week, there's 3 parts to this for this weekend. And if you're in the Findmypast forum, there's actually 5 parts. So we've actually made it a little bit more difficult for you guys in the forum. So if you do like a challenge, that is the place to go, because there's additional bits that you can get involved in. So the first part is to locate the Griffith family based on what we've seen in the newspaper articles in the 1911 census. So that's what you need to do first. And that basically will open up basically everything that you're going to need to find for this challenge. Then the second question for this weekend, one of them sadly did not make it home after the First World War. He was killed. So it's about trying to figure out which one that was and trying to find out more about him. And then the third part is one of the brothers was awarded the Military Cross in 1917. So can you try and find out which one that was using the medal rolls and honours records? As I said, there are bonus questions as well. So Liam has put these into the Findmypast forum today. So it's a slightly more in-depth version of the challenge, because I know all of you who are in the forum, you absolutely love delving into things like this. So I thought we'd give you a little bit more to go on. So the bonus questions are: can you find the full names, dates of birth of the Griffiths children in the 1911 census and beyond, because there are some that are not on there. So can you find the other brothers in 1911? And then the third question there is, what was the long-term impact of the war on Richard John? And you can find that by going into his service record. You can, if you open up the original images, you can scroll through there. Not that I'm wanting to give you guys any clues, whatever. But I hope you enjoy it, and there's going to be more to come. If you find anything and you'd like to share your discoveries, you can add it to this thread, which is pinned to our Facebook page. And if you do that, you could also be in with a chance of winning a subscription as well, which would be pretty cool, would it not? It's worth nearly £200, and why wouldn't you? To make it even easier, we've made some records free, haven't we, Liam?
We have indeed, excitingly so.
Yeah, so, and we're going to have different free records every weekend. So this weekend's one, to help you answer the first part of this challenge, Free are civil birth, marriage and death records, First World War records, medal rolls and honours records, and the 1841 to 1911 censuses. So in order to take part in this challenge, to answer each of the questions as we pose them to you, you shouldn't need a subscription to Findmypast. So you can take part for free. Isn't that good?
Very cool.
Yeah, I'm quite excited about this. And if you do need any help, for example, if you are brand new, if you've never done family history before, do not worry, because we actually have an in-depth tutorial that takes you through each question, tells you where to search, tells you where to look, gives you all of the answers. And it means that you can follow it along. You can pause the video as you go. So if you want to do the research at the same time, and hopefully what this should do, if you're brand new to family history or you need a little bit of extra guidance, you can use this, and then you can take all of those learnings that you've made, and you can apply those to your own family tree and your own research. So there will be a new video up every weekend, every Friday, to tie in with each new part of the challenge. So there we go. Can I get a hands up of who's going to take part? Because I'm so excited. Like I've been working on this for a month and a half.
I was going to say, yeah, it's been over a month anyway, because I remember we first spoke about it. You brought it all together. I was the guinea pig to do the research for you.
You were my testing guinea pig, weren't you?
Yeah, and because you're a little bit evil and make things tricky, I'm glad to see people falling down the same traps that I went down in the records.
I've not done it to try and be evil. I just know that within our community, we have some amazing researchers already. Like, you know, you guys listening today, like this is your bread and butter. I can't make it too easy for you. So I've tried to, there are going to be parts of this challenge that are a little bit easier than others. And there was one particular one that we were speaking about today, Liam, in an upcoming weekend with one of the questions. I know there was one bit that you got wrong, and I told you the correct answers today, didn't I?
Yeah, and I wasn't surprised that I got it wrong, but I can see where I've gone wrong at least. So it's a learning. It's not a mistake. It's a learning for me.
It is a learning, exactly. And yeah, it's about us all coming together and us all telling this story collectively. And hopefully, if you've never done, you know, if you've never looked at heroes in your own family tree, hopefully it will inspire you to do so. So there we go. Yeah, that's that. Have I got anything else to tell you about the challenges? Oh yeah, this is what's coming up, actually. So we've got certain records that are free this weekend. Next weekend will be another batch of free records. Then there'll be different ones again the following weekend, and then different ones the weekend after that. So it should take us all the way up to Remembrance. We're going to use some newspapers. We're going to look at the Second World War. And then, yeah, we're just going to have real fun with it and just bring their story to life beyond what, you know, just reading their names and seeing their photographs in the newspapers. Like these were people. They led their own lives and they experienced things and they felt things. And that's the sort of thing we want to encourage. Basically, how many times can I say basically in this one session?
You always have that word, don't you? You come off and you're like, I must have said basically about 30 times within the space of a minute there. It always happens to me, lying in bed at night thinking about how many times I said basically.
My other one actually is actually. It's terrifying.
Yeah, I'm really bad for so yeah. Every sentence I say on a Friday live. So yeah, that's that.
Anyway, let's just go to some of the questions before we welcome in our special guest for today. Alan asking, have you got any war diaries available? We haven't, but we can recommend you go to our very good friends over at the National Archives. They are amazing. We love our friends over there. They're probably not watching today. Maybe Jess is watching. If you're watching, we're waving and saying hi. And yeah, a couple of you guys saying that you're going to take part. Thank you, Maz. Thank you, Andrew. Thank you, Lynn. This is lovely. Thank you very much. And lots of you answering the question of the week as well. And if you missed the question of the week, it is, who do you remember on Remembrance Day? That is the question of the week. Let's just scroll back up to see what else is occurring. I'm scrolling, Liam. I'm scrolling.
That's all right. I'll do some filler just to address Matthew's one, that it is something to do outside of Friday Live. So keep you occupied in the 6 days that you go without a Fridays Live each week. So something to do. We'll do our little recaps and talk about it on here, or Jen and Rose will, whoever's hosting. But yes, something to keep you occupied through the week.
Yeah, because we know that, you know, outside of this 1 hour on a Friday, what else do you do with your time? You know, this is the highlight of your week. I am, of course, being facetious. I have to caveat that I'm being facetious because
I'm just going to clip. I'm going to clip it, but leave out the part where you said you're being facetious.
Oh, thanks, Liam. Okay, hopefully our special guest is ready to join us. Can I get some thumbs up? Because she's in the studio with us now. Yes, she's ready. Right, I'm going to stop sharing my screen. And yeah, we will welcome Sophie. Hi, Sophie.
Hi. Thanks for having me. Good to be here.
That's fantastic to have you. I don't think you've been on a Fridays Live with us before. So why don't you introduce yourself to our lovely community so they can get to know you a bit better?
Yeah. Hi, everybody. This is my first time on Friday Live. I'm Sophie. I'm a product manager at Findmypast. I've been with the company about 2 years. I started my family history research journey when I was about 8 or 9 years old, which is a little unusual. So this is my dream job, as you can probably imagine. So very excited to be sharing what we've been working on with you all today.
Yeah, and we're going to talk a little bit about maps, aren't we? And I don't know about you guys, but I am a huge map fan. If I'm researching an area I don't know, one of the things I like to do is actually go onto the National Library of Scotland website and look at the maps. You can do side by side there. I don't know about you, Sophie. Like, are you a map fan?
Of course, yeah. I mean, the National Library of Scotland's a brilliant resource, and they do have some amazing maps there available. I think it's just brilliant for family history research, really, telling those stories and kind of opening up new questions for you across why did my ancestor move from here to here, or what caused them to go to, and maybe get a job somewhere else. I think it opens up a lot of questions for us. I also really like on a map, you can really bring to life that kind of small day-to-day detail. See what was their nearest pub, what was their nearest church, what they might have done in their free time, if they had any, how far was work, where was the schools the children went to. I think maps really help bring that to life. And obviously for any local historians, family historian, house historians, seeing the change over time in maps is always fascinating as well. So yes, hopefully some map fans out there, but I certainly am.
Are you a map fan, Liam?
Always a map fan, yeah. I know. I think this is a streak for Friday Live mentioning maps. I know Jen talks about maps a lot. We speak about maps a lot, even if it's a screenshot of Google Maps. I love a map. So yeah, in good company.
I think for me, it's become one of those, like with newspapers has become one of my go-tos now. I mean, a few years ago, maybe not so much, but now newspapers are like vital for me. I don't even think about it. I just go and look. And maps for me is actually one of the similar sorts of things. Like, I like seeing how the area has changed over time. One of the examples I usually quote is where my mum grew up, which is in Melodyn in North Wales. And she's just down a hill from the church. And the church is where I was baptized. It's where my mum and dad got married. And there's a pub just next door. And there used to be a series of terraced houses in between the pub and the church. And I love looking that up on maps and just seeing how the area has evolved. And unfortunately, I think they were practically considered slum housing and condemned and pulled down. So it's now the pub car park. But seeing how an area evolves over time through maps, and then also maybe adding in old photographs and new photographs, I just find it utterly fascinating.
Well, we know they've found kings under car parks, haven't they? So you never know what could be under a pub car park.
I don't think there's a king buried under the Red Lion car park in Melodon, but I might go and have a look. It might be Owen Glyndŵr. No one ever found him. He might be buried there. Who knows? I'll go and have a look. So yeah, maps are pretty cool. And Matthew's actually saying, I was going to call you Map-you for a second there. I'm sorry. Matthew says maps are great things. They really are. Also, he says he started when he was about 15 with his family history. So you are in good company here, Sophie.
Great.
Andrew saying he's always hoarded maps as well. Kim saying, I have a few street directories for Leeds in the late 1940s, which includes maps. And it's great to see what streets were there or are no longer there. Absolutely. So why are we discussing maps today, Soph?
Why indeed? Yes. Well, I'm really excited to share a feature that my team have been working on for a little while now, which is called Explore. It's now live for customers on our site, so you can certainly go and check it out. And I wanted to give you a bit of a demo on it, show you what it can do, and hopefully get ideas of how we can make it even better in the future for all of you, because there's always room for improvement with these things, right? So if I can, I will try and present my screen.
And once you've done that, I can add it into the stream so everyone can see.
Okay.
Okay, are we ready for that to go in?
Yes, please.
There we go. So we are now seeing Sophie's screen. Over to you.
Fantastic, thank you. So I'm currently showing you my family tree, sadly lacking photos, always been a bit of a shame for me, but as you can see, I'm looking at my ancestor here, James Rubley. So I can access this new tool from this Explore button over here, or either from the Explore button down here, which is where you would go to the pedigree view as well. So I'm going to go over here and have a look at James Rubley on the map. So as you can see, I've landed in a historic map layer. This is our most historic map layer that we currently have live on site, which ranges from sort of 1888 to 1913, depending on the part of the country. And you can see that we're in London. You can see Fulham here. And this is my ancestor who was born in Fulham in 1936. The grey icons on this map will show you the key facts that are in your family tree. So you can trace their life journey across time. So here I've got James's birth fact, and as you can see, it opens up in the drawer here, his birth, the year, and the place. Now, this place has obviously been generated from a source like a civil birth record, which isn't sort of specific to building or street level. Obviously, as you all know, it's giving that kind of wider town district level information. So I kind of want to make this a little bit more accurate, because I actually know that James was born over in St Olaf's Road, and I can do that using this feature, using the adjust pin button. And so if I want to actually pinpoint the building, I can move that pin and pop it on the road where I know he was born, and save it. And hopefully, all being well, that pin should now be adjusted to the new road. And we're in St Olaf's Road. So that's a nice little feature if you're really into that precision and accuracy, and you want to make sure that all your research is being reflected here. Now, James actually didn't travel very far in his life. As you can see, these other grey dots show that he spent a lot of time in the same place. I've just put a few here as an example, 41, 51, 61, but that was actually his whole life until he died in 91. But you can open up those residence facts and see that he was living in Burlington Road for his whole life. Now, looking on this historic map layer, obviously it's quite hard to see if I've got the right road there. We don't have road names on all of these, but we can use the map layer tool to compare with the 37 later map, and then also with the modern map. And actually, if you look at the modern map there, you should be able to see, yep, Burlington Road, that's actually located that one correctly as well. So those are the grey markers on the map, and they will plot your birth, marriage, residence, baptism, death facts, and so you can see visually where your ancestor was and where they travelled to. The other content that we've put on the map is these orange icons, which are designed really to bring those places to life a little bit more. So for instance, I have here a photo gallery of Fulham, and you can see photos from the area. Interestingly, for my ancestor James, this is quite nice because he was actually a carman. He drove a horse and cart, so this feels like quite a relevant photo for me. And there are also blue plaques, commemorative plaques, that we have plotted, accurately to their location across London. Again, interestingly, for my ancestor, this building here was the home or the workshop of the father of British motor industry. So that's quite intriguing for me, and something I'm probably going to want to investigate a little bit further. We also have photos of churches, and hopefully some more exciting content coming to bring that to life. Now, I actually, as I just mentioned, know that James was a carman, and he did drive a horse and cart, but that isn't currently reflected on the map. I know where he, I've got the detail about where he lived, but I want to put his place of work too. So I can do that by opening this add fact. And it works in the same way. It will be reflected on the timeline, and other parts of the site, but you can add facts directly here. So if I want to create an occupation fact, I can say a carman, let's say 1861 for argument's sake, and say Fulham, London, Middlesex. And again, let's hopefully, this is when these demos always make life a little bit risky. Okay, we might need to check on that one. Let me try one more time. You should be able to add directly onto the map, where wherever you want. Let me try one more go. If not, I will have to.
It's a really cracking bit of a feature here.
Mm-hmm.
Perfect. Okay, so we have sorry, Ellie. Yeah.
I was just going to say it looks great. Sorry, carry on.
Good. So I have now managed to get that occupation fact on the map. And as I said, yeah, I want to actually not have it at Burlington Road, but the place that I know he worked. And using the map, I can I actually noticed earlier that there is his place of work, which I now am not seeing. Where was it? Maybe it doesn't. Up here, this is where I was looking for, the Road Car Company Depot. So that's kind of interesting for me to know that that's actually where he was working from. So I'm going to move that pin again and actually pop it in the Road Car Company Depot. So now I can really visualize his life in 1861, that he was living here, and then this would be his route to work too. Yeah, so this is James. I mean, I have other ancestors who maybe slightly more well-traveled, and if I can just choose another screen to present,
this will be good actually, because Jan missed the start of how to access the map, so maybe you can show her.
Okay, yes, absolutely. So to find this tool, you need to be on the tree view, and you can find it from this explore button here, or also from the option down here, explore. So James's son William actually, like James, spent some time in his childhood in Fulham, in Burlington Road, but he did then join the army, and he moved, and he obviously visited different parts of the world as well. And so I've on this map plotted also where he joined the military, which was in Brighton, and then also where he served. So we can zoom right out, and he's got a service over here in India, and you can and additional service over here in Ireland as well. So that's kind of, you know, something that you can do if you do have ancestors that travelled abroad and spent time in different places or migrated to different places as well. So hopefully that's brought to life some of the features. I'm very happy to take questions about what we've been doing.
Yeah, I just love this, and as Kim has just said, I echo Kim's sentiments. I love that you can now visualize ancestral journeys with this map feature, and this is what it's all about, right? It's about contextualizing our ancestors' stories. You know, they're not just names on a family tree. They were living, breathing people. They lived in homes, and they walked to work, and they went overseas, and all of that. And you can really illustrate it with features like this. So it's very exciting. But what I keep coming back to, Sophie, is that this looks like a really complicated piece of work. I mean, I'm obviously not in product, so it must seem complicated to me, but I imagine there were some parts of this that were really tricky. Maybe you could give us some insight. Like, what was the trickiest thing, for example, to work on?
Wow. Yeah, it's a really good question. There was, I mean, it's always the challenge of finding, you know, photos and archival content that's going to be relevant to help bring those places to life. So that was certainly a challenge. But I think probably the hardest thing, and something we're still working on, is how to really geolocate those places accurately on a map. And there's a whole range of reasons why this took our team quite a long time. I guess right from the beginning of the journey, if you think about the records that we use to build these facts and put these stories together, not all of them contain, you know, really specific information. Like I mentioned, the birth record, you know, you've just got a town or a county, and so, you know, a map's going to pop that straight in the middle, and you can't go any further than that. Similarly, you know, transcribing records or our transcriptions of records might not necessarily contain all of the details that we might want. So, for instance, yeah, I'm sure we've been talking military records. Military transcripts sometimes only contain one place, whereas you may look into the handwriting and find out, oh, actually this person served in India and South Africa and went to those places, but that's not there in that kind of transcript. So that's like the first problem that we have. And then I guess, as everybody knows, that the next challenge is then places change over time, names change, county borderlines change. What was Middlesex is now London. What was number 4 on your road is now number 14. All of these things, which means that when we've done this feature and we've tried to layer so you can see historic, you know, 2 layers of historic maps and a current map, actually trying to compare those is quite challenging too. So lots of challenges in that area. What we've done is built in a new geolocation tool. So we usually only geolocate historically, or previously, we were only using one tool. We're now using 2 to try and compare and contrast and pick the best possible place based on, you know, what data we've got there that's come. The other thing that we've tried to do in this solution is give you all the chance to move those pins and make it more accurate and tell us the right answer, so that you can see that reflected back when obviously technology doesn't always get it absolutely right. But yeah, it'd be great to hear your feedback, everybody, on how you get on with it and what else we need to do to make it better.
Fantastic. Yeah, I mean, the comments are actually coming in thick and fast with some feedback and stuff. With what I'll do is, guys, is I'll gather all of this feedback and pass it over to Sophie. But I think we could probably take a couple of these questions that have come in, because we've got a couple of minutes. If I think you're scooching off to is it a wedding you're going to?
I am this weekend. Yes.
Okay, let me just see if I can pick out a handful of questions here. Nicole asks, would the map feature be used for census records, or is it just birth, marriage and death?
I see. Yeah, good question. So when you save a census record to your family tree, it gets turned into a fact, and that will be a residence fact and an occupation fact. And so that residence fact will be reflected on the map. Yes. So residence facts definitely should be there.
Excellent. Christina asks, are there maps for the whole of the UK?
Yes. So the Ordnance Survey maps cover the UK. They do not cover Ireland. and the rest of the world. So it, for now, the layers that we have available is for the UK level, but we are hoping that we can try and expand that and see what else we can do to kind of bring in more interest elsewhere.
Excellent. And I'm going to take one more, because this is a good question. This is from Jeff. Can you measure distances? For example, Calcutta to Delhi, for example, Templemore to Cork, as ancestors marched to those places. Could that be an upcoming part of the Explore feature?
It does sound really interesting. We haven't got that built in at the moment, no, but behind the scenes we have that data, because obviously we know where we're geolocating things. So I really like that idea, and I'm definitely going to take it away and speak to the engineers about what we could do there. That's really intriguing. And how long these things would have taken, traveling on foot, traveling by ship, all those questions start to come up. So yeah, thanks, Jeff. That's a really interesting thought. I will see what we can do.
Lovely. Right, I think that's all we've got time for maps for today. Sophie, thank you so much. I know you're scooching off to this wedding, so we will let you go.
Thank you very much for having me.
I know we've had lots more questions and lots more feedback on this that I can see here, and we've had it across other social media as well. But just so everybody knows, and as everybody's reassured, that all gets passed back on to Sophie and her team. None of it goes unread or unlooked at, so don't worry, it all gets read. Thank you so much for coming, Sophie. I hope you have a great weekend.
Thank you everybody. Bye.
Bye.
Oh, I love having product people on the Family History Show, don't you?
I know, it's really good. We should get them more often.
We should get them more often. There is one more comment that I really wish I should have brought this up while Sophie was still here, but I think Heather sums it up rather nicely. I think you're being very unfair. Explore and the challenge in 1 hour. When am I going to sleep?
You've got a whole week for the challenge, so...
Yeah, you've got time. The next question, so the next part of the challenge, won't be released until 10 a.m. UK time on Friday, so next Friday. So you've got time, Heather. Don't worry. Shall we do question of the week?
Mm-hmm.
I think we should do question of the week. Dorian says, is this feature available on its own, or does it require a Findmypast login first? Yeah, so it's built into your family tree on Findmypast. So if you've started to build a tree on Findmypast, you'll be able to access this feature. But I do seem to remember that the team may be working on a way to have it outside of the tree, but that's down the line. So just keep an eye out for that one. Okay, let's do question of the week, you guys. Next slide. Okay, question of the week. Because the challenges are so inherently focused on Remembrance, and we've got Remembrance coming up, I thought we could talk about who we remember on Remembrance Day. So we can start thinking about them now, thinking about their stories and the impact that they've had on us. So if you've not added your answer to the question of the week, please pop it in the comments now, and we will get to it in a moment. Liam, do you want to delve into a couple of these?
Yes, let's have a look. I've been keeping an eye as we have gone on. Kim is always quick off the mark, and I'm getting cut off here because she always gives such great detailed answers as well. So Kim remembers 3 members of the family in World War I in the Battle of Jutland. One who died at the age of 16, Richard Frederick Derlicker. I apologise if I'm not saying the surname correctly. His brother Lawrence later became a 5th Sea Lord. That's a great sounding title. Then in World War II, Mum's uncle Robert Hood, who died as an FEPOW in 1944.
16 years old.
It's incredible to think, isn't it? 16.
It's just the mind boggles, really. 16, there's no age.
I know. Who else do we have? I will pick this one because it is related to what my answer would be as well. Lynn says her paternal great-grandfather Edward William Lawson fought in World War I for England. Also his son Lloyd Edward Lawson with the Canadian Expeditionary Force in World War II. Out of their 6 sons, 5 fought in World War II. That's quite similar to the challenge that you found as well, I suppose, that newspaper article as well. And my great-granduncle served with the I don't know why I said Canadian so weird there, with the Canadian Expeditionary Force as well. So yeah, as I say, that's one that related to my family tree.
Yeah, I think it's a good reminder for us. If you have like a grandparent or a great grandparent or a great great grandparent who served in a war and they had brothers, or they had, I would even go as far as to say if they had sisters, they may have all taken part in the war or the home front in some way or another. So don't just restrict yourself to your direct ancestor. Look at their siblings too, because if you do that, you will get a better understanding of the impact of the war on the family as a whole. And yeah, you won't miss things then. I think it's well worth taking the time to do that.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, that's actually how I found my great grand uncle as well, was because I couldn't find his siblings couldn't find my direct line, his brother, in the military records. So I started looking at the siblings, and then that's how I found him. So yeah, it's a very good point. Like you say, it's easy to get the blinkers on and only look at the direct line, but like you say, could be so much more out there as well. Who else do we have? This is another one that's going to cut me entirely out of the screen here as I go up there. Gillian will be remembering her great-grandfather, John Charles. He served as a stoker with the Royal Navy in World War I. He was on board a ship as part of a convoy in the North Sea. The ship he served on was hit, and he was one of the ones who went down, leaving behind 3 young children, including her gran. There's a few on the bar side that died in the Second World War, still finding out about them.
So sad, isn't it?
Another, it's not the cheeriest comment. Some of these are really like from 16-year-olds to leaving behind 3 young children as well. It's much like our next segment, a kind of reminder of the impact left behind by this and why it's so important as well.
Yeah. Should we do a couple more? Shall I pick one?
Yeah, go for it.
Let's go with Andrew. The uncle my dad never knew he had until I took at family history. He made it through the Great War, was home on leave on 11th of the 11th, 1918, returned to France and died of flu 2 weeks later. Just doesn't bear thinking about any of this, really. Okay, thank you for submitting these, everybody. I know we never managed to get through all of them because you guys always have so many great things to share. But we read them all and we remember all of these people. So thank you for sharing their stories with us. I suppose I haven't done mine, have I? Who do I remember around Remembrance? I know my great-grandfather, Ralph. I know he was in the army for a time during World War One, but he was quite a small chap, and I think he had some medical issues. So he was discharged pretty quickly on medical grounds. But there were other overthrows who served, and I think I wrote a blog piece about this a few years ago. And there's like cousins of my great grandfather, and again, it's a similar thing where you've got like 5 or 6 brothers who enlist, and it's about looking at each of their stories and having a look at their collective wartime history. And I would go with I think my answer would be them. I think it would be the Overthrow brothers, and similar to the challenge that we've set you, one of them didn't make it home, and yeah. All very, very sad indeed. Okay, right. I think we've got one more segment to get through. We have 15 minutes to talk about it. Do you think we can talk about it in 15 minutes?
Yeah, I think so.
So our favourite house history show returned to BBC Two last night. That's so good. What were your first impressions, Liam?
Yeah, I thought it was really good. I'm maybe saying too much here, but I can't remember the last time I actually watched this show, to be honest with you. It's not one I'd seen a great deal of, but obviously, like, Who Do You Think You Are? But House History, or House of Time, I should say, kind of passed me by. I know that will not be what you want to hear as such a big fan of the show, but it has somehow just totally passed me by in seasons past. So I was really excited that we were going to start speaking about it, and that I was going to actually have a reason to sit down and watch it. And yeah, it's just amazing. I mean, David is amazing at everything he does. I could listen to him talk about almost any subject and find it interesting and captivating. And yeah, this one is no different. I think the concept for this series, I'm not sure how that compares to what they've done in the past, but I think the concept for this one, even just having watched episode 1, yeah, it's already hooked.
Yeah, because so this is the 5th series of A House Through Time, and typically what David Olusoga has done in the past is he takes one house in one city and researches it from pretty much when it was built up until the present day, and researches the occupants and their lives, and it's a bit sort of house history meets family history, which I quite like. And this time they are researching 2 mansion blocks, like apartment blocks, one in London, one in Berlin. And they're starting from the 1920s, so just after the First World War, and they're going to go from there through the Second World War and then probably finish just after it, I think. So the way I've sort of described it in my head is it is sort of house history meets family history meets social history meets local history meets the rise of fascism and World War II history. There's a lot of things going on, but I feel like each thread adds more to what he's discussing. And as you say, like David Olusoga is fantastic. I have had the pleasure of meeting him a few times through work, and as the episode starts, he starts in the 1920s. So he's starting with the 1921 census. And that immediately made me think of where, he came to our digitization studio when we were still scanning and preserving and digitizing the 38 million records for the 1921 census. So he came by and he did some filming with us there. And we got to show him his family's records and some of the cool stuff that our digitization operatives had found. And he was really I think he really enjoyed it. He's just fantastic. I could gush about him for hours. But he's also, if you've not checked out our crime podcast yet, Was Justice Served, he's also the guest in our first episode, and we look at a crime from his family tree, so that's well worth a listen. But yeah, I already know that I'm going to cry at some point watching one of these episodes because it's so powerful. Do you not agree?
Yeah, no, definitely. Like you say, even the threads and the beginnings that you're hearing now, things haven't even fully kicked off yet, like you say. And yeah, you can guess where things are going. And yeah, it's going to be a journey.
All of the episodes, if you live in the UK, all of the episodes are now actually available to watch on iPlayer. So you don't have to wait around till next Thursday to watch the next one. But I thought it might be fun to have a quick look at some of the stuff that was discussed. We won't go into too much detail because it was only on last night and I don't really want to spoil it. But this is one of the, just to give an example of some of the sort of house history meets family history sort of angle. Like he looks at 1921, he looks at newspapers, he looks at baptism records, he looks at military records. So you take all of those and you can paint that picture of the occupant. But this is just some of the things I pulled about one of the occupants. So this was Major John Edward Murray Smith. We've got 2 reports about his death. And although I couldn't find him in 1921, he mentions in the episode that you find the servant living in his house, which is in Montague Mansions, which is the apartment block. And I think he's in 2L, I want to say. And so it's the servant listed there, but Major Murray Smith signs it. So we have his signature, which I've put here, but he's not actually listed on the return. So he may have filled it out, but not have stayed there that night. But yeah, there was so much else that we got to see, and the foreshadowing that we seem to get for John's son as well. David says that John's son, I think George, would fight in the Second World War, and it got me thinking, like, how many how many fathers and sons are connected by these two wars, with, you know, one father fighting in World War I and then the son fighting in World War II. Like that's decades and decades of collective trauma through warfare. Like that's a lot.
Yeah, I know, like you say, we're speaking about like researching brothers and sisters that fought in the same war, but like you say, researching fathers and sons, or grandfathers and grandchildren, as it may be, depending on ages. Like, yeah, like you say, it's, yeah.
The other thing that I quite liked is that because we're doing this sort of like parallel London apartment block, Berlin apartment block, he keeps swapping between what's going on in London and what's going on in Berlin. And I don't know if you guys have ever watched the series on, I think it's BBC, it's The Rise of the Nazis. It's a documentary series. It's bone-chilling, awful, but I highly recommend it to anybody who's interested in the Second World War and how that came about. But David did focus on a little bit on sort of the German people after World War I and their mindset and things like that. And, you know, he doesn't shy away from, you know, if there are problems going on, like, you know, you get political parties like scapegoating one group of people wrongly, just to try and get more votes and more people interested in them. Like, I like that he didn't shy away from that. I couldn't believe as well that we got to hear the voice of one of the occupants of the German apartments. That was pretty cool.
Yeah, what was it, 1934 or something?
1934, yeah.
Yeah, incredible. Just seeing the guy bring it out on the vinyl record and hearing that was just, yeah, amazing.
And then I also didn't realise, so one of the other occupants they talked about of the London apartments was a chap called Cecil Bernstein, right? And it was only after I went into the newspapers to read a little bit more about him. Did I read anything more about him? Oh, I'll come to this in a second. I didn't add anything onto the slide, but Cecil Bernstein, I looked at him in the newspapers and I was trying to find out more about the cinema and things like that. But I accidentally strayed into the 1960s, and I came across an article that said that he and his brother Sidney in the 1960s gave something like £300,000 of their own money to fund TV and media in the north of England, because until then it was very, very focused on like London and the south. And what I didn't realise, their cinema was called Granada, right? They founded Granada Studios, which then, that's how Coronation Street came about.
Yeah. Oh, wow. I didn't put that, because I know that it was the Granada Cinema, but really, I didn't really put that together.
Nor did I. It was only after I fell down the rabbit hole, and then suddenly it's just like, oh, that makes sense. Mind blowing.
Really cool, actually. I wonder if that's going to get brought up. That's really cool. I never thought that.
Yeah, it'd be interesting.
As well, when David went to visit it and seeing the pictures of it in its heyday as well, was amazing looking place.
Yeah, and it's pretty cool that these cinemas were. Oh, sorry, Rosie. She's going to go down the rabbit hole too. It's a collective thing. We can all go together. It's fun. We could bring wine, or non-alcoholic wine if you don't drink. What was I going to make my point there? Yes, around the cinemas, I totally agree with you, Liam. And it was so nice to see, and for them to state that, you know, these cinemas were for the working people. They were still beautiful and everything, but they were affordable, and it was a way to escape everyday life and step into some sort of step into fiction for however long 1930s movies were.
I know, and I think David said in it as well that it would have been cheaper to be at the cinema for the night than it would have been to stay at home and heat your home for the night as well, which you think about these days, a cinema ticket is well over a tenner. I know heating prices have gone up too, but yeah, very rare would you find that. So I thought that was a really nice line as well, something to think about.
Yeah, but if you haven't watched it yet, I hope that we've hopefully inspired you to go and watch. We haven't spoiled it too much. I don't think we have. So much happened in that episode, just in the first one. I think it's essential viewing. I really do. I think it's almost like taking early 20th century history and only really looking at it from two slices of a really big cake. You've got that slice in London, and you've got that slice in Berlin. I think that's the best way I can describe it.
An interesting analogy, but it makes sense, I would say, yeah. But yeah,
I think I just want cake.
Yeah, that's wine and cake mentioned in the space of 5 minutes. You can tell it's 5 to 5 on a Friday.
Oh goodness! Oh, I've still got something to talk about. The only problem is this last little bit doesn't end on a very happy note. So I need Liam. I need you to think of something more cheery to end on while I talk through this last little bit. So I apologise in advance for this. Content warning: this next very, very short segment does have mentions of suicide. I apologise. So if you have never looked into house history before and you want to go and have a gander, we actually make it a little bit more straightforward on Findmypast because we have something called our address search, and you can basically go into address search and add in your street name. You can add in a location. There are also some tool tips down here that you can explore. There's some things to help you out. So the apartment block in question in London, explored in a house through time, is called Montague Mansions, and you can see here that it's sometimes spelled with the E and then without the E as well. But we're going to have a look at 1921. I did actually have a look at 1911 as well, but we have no time to do that. Absolutely. So the one I pulled out was this one, which was for Astley Cuthbert Cannon, and I decided to follow him because I liked his name. He's a captain in the 5th Lancers. He's married to a woman called Marjorie. They have 2 children called John and Helen, and they have several servants. So this is them in 1921. And then I wanted to go and find his military record. And he was in the 5th Lancers. He was also in the Norfolk Yeomanry, the 64th Division of the Norfolk Regiment. He travelled a lot. I found him in a lot of our passenger list records. He was going to and from New York. And then I found a probate record for him. And I think this is 1935. And he died on the 6th of October, 1935. And he only left £2. Those were his effects. And immediately I'm just like, there's something not quite right here, which led me into the newspapers. And unfortunately, he shot himself in 1935. And these are only 2 of the ones I could find, but it goes into so much detail. There was a letter that was found on his body that was to his wife, basically saying, like, I can't do this anymore. He had money worries. And I think he was actually divorced as well. So he was in and out of England. He spent a lot of time abroad. And yeah, it's just very, very, very sad. So I apologize for ending there on a sad note. But hopefully, Liam, you have thought of something to end on that's a bit more cheery. And hopefully I just showed you what you can do just by following one occupant of Montague Mansions.
Yeah, like you say, maybe didn't end on the best note, but it was, you never know what you're going to find with family history.
It wasn't intentional. I swear it wasn't intentional. I just picked one at random, and that's the one I went with.
And it ended. But no, I didn't have to think about something, because as soon as you started speaking, Kim did it for me, because this is one of my favorite comments we've had in a while. I fell down the genealogy rabbit hole back in 2007, and I still haven't made my way out. So Kim has done my job for me and give us something nice to end on, because something I'm sure we can all relate to, whether it's family history, Granada films, whatever it might be.
Yeah, I completely agree. It's a wild ride, but we all love it, don't we? Okay, just to recap, because I know some of you guys joined a little bit later. So we have our No Story Left Behind challenge, which is running from today until, I'm just going to find the slides so you guys can see. Right, okay, share my screen again. We have our No Story Left Behind challenge, which is running until the weekend of Remembrance. So there's going to be 4 different weekends, new questions every weekend. Please join in. We're going to find the story of this one wartime family that had 5 soldier brothers. It's going to be really good fun. And also go and have a play around with a new explore feature around the maps in your family tree. And if you have any feedback, you can pop them on this video here. You can send them to customer support, and they will all get collated and they will all get passed along to Sophie and her team. Did I miss anything, Liam?
It was a lot to cover, but I think you fitted it all in almost bang on time.
Yeah, I think we're there. Have a lovely weekend, everybody. Take care of yourselves. And I think it's Jen back next week. So we will see you then. Take care. Bye.